You are not going to believe what Blake Lively pulled this week because somehow, someway, Blake managed to shove herself into another lawsuit she doesn't even belong in. And the way she did it? Oh, it screams panic, desperation, and pure damage control. Welcome back, everyone. I'm your host. And today's story is the kind of Hollywood courtroom chaos you only see when a celebrity is losing control of the narrative. And trust me, Blake Lively is losing control fast. Here's the tea. There's a separate lawsuit called Jones vs. L, a totally different case from the big one. Lively vs. Baldoni and Wayfair Studios. Justin Baldoni has nothing to do with this side case. He's busy prepping for trial, staying calm, staying focused, you know. Normal behavior when you actually want the truth out. But Blake, no. Blake did something only a guilty person with a PR addiction would do. She inserted herself into Jones vs. L, even though she's not a party. Didn't file anything there and legally has no standing, no right to demand evidence, no right to interfere. Yet she still tried. She wrote a dramatic letter to the judge supporting Stephanie Jones' motion to force a former TAG employee, Katie Kaziz, to hand over more documents. Why? Because Blake claims those documents might somehow help her in her case. Translation: Blake can't find the smear campaign evidence she swears exists. So now she's digging through other people's lawsuits, trying to find anything to save her collapsing narrative. And trust me, this is just the beginning. Alright, buckle up. Because this part of the story sounds like a Netflix thriller written by someone who thinks they're smarter than they really are. And yes, I'm talking about Blake Lively again. So here's where everything gets messy. Long before Blake tried inserting herself into the Jones vs. L case, there were already whispers, actually, no, full-on allegations about a stolen phone, shady PR moves, and Blake using a shell company to make everything look legal. And at the center of this tornado, Jennifer L., a former Wayfair employee, and the woman who claims Stephanie Jones basically took her phone, held her number hostage, and grabbed all her private communications. Now, this is where the plot twists so hard it practically breaks its own neck. According to allegations, those communications somehow ended up with Blake Lively. Not through a subpoena, not through discovery, but under the table. And what did Blake do next? Did she hand them to her lawyers? Did she report it? Nope, she allegedly used her shell company, Vanson, to file a fake lawsuit against Stephanie Jones so she could act like she got those communications through a legitimate legal process. Let me repeat that, a Hollywood actress allegedly used a shell company to create a lawsuit, just to cover where her evidence really came from. Meanwhile, Justin Baldoni? He's sitting back, letting the truth surface on its own. No secret lawsuits, no burner companies, no crisis PR circus, just transparency. Something Blake seems to have an allergy to. And trust me, the chaos only gets deeper. Now, let's talk about TAG, the crisis PR firm run by Melissa Nathans. Because this is where Blake Lively's desperation goes from embarrassing to downright suspicious. TAG has been hovering over this entire saga like a cloud of cheap perfume. They handled the Wayfair crisis, they advised key players. And according to the allegations flying around, TAG employees may have been involved in some very shady online behavior. Enter Katie Kaziz, a former, or maybe current, TAG employee. She's the one Stephanie Jones subpoenaed in the Jones vs. L case. The one Blake suddenly, magically, desperately wants documents from. And what kind of documents are we talking about? Alleged involvement in the Stephanie Jones leaks website. Disparaging Twitter accounts targeting Stephanie Jones. Anonymous posts meant to make Jones look unstable. Dark web-style smear pages that mysteriously appeared during the Wayfair meltdown. Now, here's the twist Blake does not want you to notice. None of this has anything to do with Blake Live. Lie. Not legally, not factually, not even by imagination. But Blake is acting like these documents are the missing puzzle piece proving she was the real victim all along. So why is she suddenly obsessed? Because her own lawsuit, the one against Justin Baldoni and the Wayfair defendants, is collapsing under its own weight. She claimed there was a massive smear campaign against her. She claimed there was coordinated digital harassment. She claimed there was hidden PR sabotage. But after months of discovery, she found nothing, zero. Not one piece of evidence showing the conspiracy she swore existed. So now she's treating the Jones vs. L case like her personal lost and found box. If Blake Lively thought she could stroll into Jones vs. L, snap her fingers, and force a third-party witness to hand over new evidence, she was in for a very rude awakening. Because Katie Kaziz's lawyer, they did not come to play. The moment Blake inserted herself, Kaziz's attorney fired back with a response so sharp it could slice through a Louis Vuitton bag. And the message was simple: Blake, you're wrong, you're late, and you're desperate. Let's break it down. According to Kaziz's attorney, She already did a full search months ago using court-approved search terms, court-approved data sources, court-approved date ranges, and she produced every single non-privileged document she found. They didn't say some. They didn't say most. They said all. So when Blake swooped in claiming Kaziz must have withheld evidence, her narrative collapsed fast. Kaziz's lawyer basically said, "Just because more documents exist outside the court-approved limits doesn't mean we hid anything. You know this. Your lawyers know this. Stop pretending you don't. That's legal speak for Blake. Stop making things up." And here's the kicker, this wasn't even Blake's subpoena. She had no authority to demand anything. She wasn't part of the case. She wasn't involved in the motion. She's basically a celebrity crashing a wedding she wasn't invited to, demanding to see the guest list. Blake tried to score a win. Instead, she exposed the giant hole in her own case. She still has no proof of the smear campaign she invented. If you thought Katie Kaziz's lawyer shutting Blake down was brutal, wait until you hear what the Wayfair defendants said. Because their response wasn't just a clapback, it was a legal demolition. The Wayfair attorneys filed a response that basically told the judge, Blake Lively has no business here at all. And here's why this matters, Blake didn't serve the subpoena. This is the legal equivalent of trying to pick up someone else's DoorDash order and getting caught. Wayfair said it loud and clear, Blake did not issue the subpoena to Kaziz. Therefore, Blake cannot enforce it. She is not a party in Jones vs. L. Wayfair pointed out that Blake is supporting a motion she has absolutely no standing to touch. She's trying to hijack another lawsuit like it's an episode of Gossip Girl, but this isn't TV. Real courts don't let celebrities barge in waving a letter. Her entire argument makes no sense. Wayfair's lawyers explained that Blake's letter didn't even try to show how the anti-Stephanie Jones websites, the actual subject of the subpoena, relate to Blake's own claims. Because they don't. They flat out told the judge that Blake didn't attach her own document requests, didn't explain relevance, cited a subpoena she never served, and is basically fishing for impeachment material she isn't entitled to. In other words, she's not looking for evidence. She's looking for revenge. And trust me, Blake's panic moves are about to get even more unhinged. Here's the part Blake Lively really doesn't want the public to understand, because once you see it, her entire lawsuit against Justin Baldoni looks like a collapsing Jenga tower. Blake's whole case, her entire narrative, depends on one thing, the claim that a giant smear campaign targeted her. According to her lawsuit, Wayfair tagged Melissa Nathans, Jed Wallace, Justin Baldoni, random internet trolls, everyone except Blake herself, all magically joined forces to destroy her reputation. Sounds dramatic. Sounds cinematic. Sounds like Blake is trying to recreate a villain origin story. But when discovery happened, when the actual evidence was supposed to appear, nothing, no emails, no texts, no secret group chats, no PR memos, no coordinated plan, not even a stray tweet linking Baldoni to anything resembling a smear operation. So what does Blake do when the evidence she swore existed doesn't? She spirals. She storms into Jones vs. L, a case she doesn't belong in, hoping that tags alleged involvement in anti-Stephanie Jones websites will magically prove her theory. But the math doesn't math. Websites insulting Stephanie Jones does not equal a conspiracy against Blake Lively. Yet Blake is betting everything on this stretch. Why? Because she needs someone, anyone, to look like the villain so she doesn't have to face the truth about her own behavior during the Wayfair film rollout. If there's one thing that has become painfully obvious through all this, it's the night and day difference between how Justin Baldoni moves and how Blake Lively spirals. While Blake jumps into lawsuits she doesn't belong in, files dramatic letters, accuses everyone under the sun, and begs judges to chase ghosts, Justin is doing something radical. He's letting the facts speak. No frantic filings. No crisis PR chaos. No shell companies. No midnight subpoenas. Just calm, steady, documented truth. People close to the case say Justin has been shockingly composed behind the scenes. He knows nothing connects him to the alleged smear websites. He knows he didn't weaponize PR firms. He knows he wasn't part of the Wayfair leaks or any social media hit job. And the best part? The evidence backs him up. Meanwhile, Blake is fighting shadows in every courtroom she can find. The more she panics, the more the judges notice. The more she overreaches, the more the lawyers push back. The more she tries to override the rules, the more she exposes how weak her case really is. And oh, she's exposed. Blake claims she's the victim. But victims don't crash unrelated lawsuits looking for anything, please. Anything to use as ammunition. Victims don't need to chase third-party witnesses whose documents have nothing to do with them. Victims don't need conspiracy theories when discovery falls flat. But you know who does stay calm when they're telling the truth? Justin Baldoni. and Blake knows it. That's why she's scrambling. This afternoon's hearing in Jones versus L might be the most important moment of this entire saga. And ironically, Justin Baldoni isn't even in that courtroom. But Blake Lively? Oh, she's practically lurking in the doorway, hoping this unrelated case somehow saves her from the disaster she created. Let me break it down. The judge is holding a hearing about whether Katie Kaziz, the former TAG employee, needs to hand over more documents. That's it. That's the whole purpose. But Blake desperately wants the judge to believe those documents about websites attacking Stephanie Jones, not Blake, are somehow the missing link in her lawsuit against Baldoni and Wayfair. Why is she so invested? Because Blake's trial is coming fast and she has no evidence, no smoking gun, no proof of the smear campaign she promised. So now she's hoping the judge today will magically order new files that, in her fantasy, reveal some secret master plan involving Melissa Nathans or TAG that she can spin into relevance. But here's the harsh truth, even if the judge orders more documents, they still don't connect to Blake's claims. They're about Stephanie Jones, they're about Jones' work. They're about TAG employee drama that predates any of Blake's stories. The Wayfair team already made it clear Blake is not a party here. She has no standing. This case is not her playground. The judge knows it. The lawyers know it. Justin Baldoni knows it. And Blake knows she's out of moves. Because after months of digging, demanding, and dragging people into court, she still can't find a single piece of evidence that Justin Baldoni ever did anything to her. This hearing won't save her. It'll just expose, again, how far she's willing to go to avoid the one thing she fears most, the truth. If you want the full truth, not Blake Lively's Hollywood spin, hit like, smash subscribe, and turn on all notifications right now because this case is exploding by the day. And I'm bringing you every leak, every filing, and every courtroom twist Blake doesn't want you to see. Stay with me. The receipts are coming.